Alrighty, we are on Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. We're starting the last line of Chav Beis Amud Aleph. Chav Beis Amud Beis. Bottom line: For Amar Rav Yochanan Mishum Rav Shimon Ben Yitzchak. Rav Yochanan says in the name of Rav Shimon Ben Yitzchak, Kol Tam L'Chacham She'enei Noikim V'Noiter Kenochash. A Talmud Chacham that does not take revenge and bear a grudge like a snake does. Einei Talmud Chacham. He's not a Talmud Chacham. Why? Because that means he's not machshav his Torah. He doesn't appreciate his Torah, and he shouldn't be meichel on kavod Torah. And if he is meichel, it shows that he hasn't gotten the degree of shlehisig as goydel chiv kavod Torah. He doesn't appreciate what kavod Torah means. So if somebody in the pashas of the Gemara is, if somebody insults him, chav gimel amar aleph. If somebody insults him, or he's got to take revenge. He's got to bear a grudge. Frankly, Gemara, v'aksiv lo yisikam v'lo yisitar. It's a pasuk on Torah. You can't take nekama. You can't take revenge. Lo yisitar. You can't bear a grudge. So Gemara says, "How be mammon hu dichsiv?" That's talking in mammonis wise. The time like London and Bryce. Ezu nekima. What's the situation of nekima of revenge? Ve'ezu netira, and what's called bearing a grudge. Nekima. The guy says to him, "Hey, can you lend me your shovel?" Amrlai lab, and he says, "No." Lamach. The next guy is Amrlai who. So he goes to his friend and says, "Hashleni kadumech." The guy comes back and he says, "Would you lend me your kardim?" Is what a shovel also
Hatchet.
a hatchet.
Yeah.
Okay, Amrlai. Any mashilcha, I'm not going to give it to you. Kader shleishil danida. You didn't give it to me.
So
That's called nikima. That's called taking revenge. Ve'ezu netira. So Amrlei Shileni Kadumech. If he says, "Listen, I'm going. Can you lend me your axe?" And Amrlei, so the guy says to him, "No, I can't lend you one." Lamach the next day, Amrlei Yishilani Chalukcha. Can you lend me your shirt, your robe? Amrlei, here, Halech, take it. Any kamaischa. I'm not like you, Shalahi Shaltani, that didn't lend it to me. That's called netira. Now, netira. So first of all, there's nekama. It's interesting that this again. If you would have asked me, I would have said netira means you're bearing a grudge. It means I'm holding it inside. I don't like you. I may do things for you, but I still don't like what you did to me. I'm holding that inside. Do you actually have to say it to the guy? Is that part of netira that you said it to him? So I didn't know this, but it says over here in the Dirshu brings down from the Yereim and the Rambam that netira isu netira hu dafka ba'amira. It's dafka if you say it. The imlay amrlay ain't over. If you don't say anything, you're not over when it comes to netira. Bearing a grudge it could be you'll be over like sistan sachich b'vavecha. That you could be over if you still hate the guy. So that you'll be over for keeping it in your heart. But the isra of like siktar of bearing a grudge is dafka if you act on it. You say something to the guy. When you give it to him, you say, I'm better than you. That's when you're over the lav of leisitar. Nekama, he says, does not require a amira. Just taking revenge without an amira is not.
How is nekama without amira?
Nekama, if you do something to me and I go and I do something back to you because of it. You slash my tire, or you dented my car, and I go back. Right, that's going to be the isser of nekama. Now, interesting, there is no isser nekama b'shas ma'isa. It means if a guy hits you, are you allowed to hit him back? Of course. The chinuch says mefurish b'shas ma'isa ein isser linka and v'lintar. There's no isser she eshel adam liyas kevin she'evin lahivchan. The Torah doesn't expect you to be a stone. Not to be emotional. If a guy hits you, you can if a guy insults you, you're allowed to insult him back. There's no isur nekama or netira b'shas ma'isa. That's important to know. What happened? I don't know if I should black this out or I'll say this over my Rebbe. He asked if a kid, what should you tell your kid? That if there's a kid beating him up in school or hit him in school, what should you do? No, should you tell him not to fight back? He says, no, you should tell him to hit him. Unless he's going to get either the guy's bigger than him and he's going to beat him up, or he's going to get in trouble from school. But that's usually the policy. If you hit back, then you're going to get in trouble. But Lamaisa, that's like a shuggle connected to Astera. The Astera is someone hits you, you hit them back. B'shas Meisa. There's a beginning not to, but that's we're going to see in a minute. But that's already tzitchis for a kid. If a kid hits you, hit him back, unless you're gonna get in trouble. Then so that's not smart. Okay, back to the Gemara. The shaila of the Gemara is that how could you tell me that? That was a teretz. The Gemara asked, how could a Talmud Chacham be Neikim v'Neiter? There's an Isser of Leisikim Leisiter. The Gemara answered that's Dafka when it comes to Mamnis. But Sar de Gufe, when it comes to your own pain, so then you're allowed to be Neikim v'Neiter. Says the Gemara, Tsar de Gufa Loi? Is that true? Is that really true that when it comes to Tsar de Gufa, there's no Isser Leisikim Leisiter? But Tanya, we learned in a Brisa. Hane people that are embarrassed, ve'in and oivlin, and they don't give it back. Shemin charpasan, they hear their disgrace. Ve'in meshivan, they don't answer back. Oisin me'ahava, they do out of love. Usmeichim b'yisurin, and they're okay with the punishment that the yisurim they're getting. Alein akasav oimer, the pasuk says about them, va'oy havav, and his loved ones are kitzeis hashemes. They shine brightly like the sun coming out. Big Varase in all of its glory. So l'chari, you see from here that at least that there's a madrega, not to fight back. The guy not to be neikim v'neiter like how could it tell me that Talmud Chacham is allowed to be neikim v'neiter kenachash l'chayra? He should be from the people that are now loving vein and olvin. He should hit that madrega. So where it says la'olam dinakit lebelibe. You're right. We're talking about here where he doesn't act on it, but he keeps the grudge in his heart, and maybe even davens that Akash Baruch Hu should take care of the Kavod HaTorah. Rashi says 3 lines from the top of the page: "T'nakat le belibe v'yamba acher linkaim." And if somebody else comes to take revenge, nikmasay linkaim nikmasay b'kiyam hamishpat yishtok. He keeps quiet. He doesn't. He's not my. No. It's okay. It's okay. Go for it. Okay. For the Gemara, is that really okay? But Tanya, the dinner price. No, I'm sorry. In fact, the Gemara for Amar Rava, but Rava said, "Kol hamavir amidaisav," someone who lets things go. He's mavir amidaisav. He just he doesn't when he just lets things go. He doesn't get too upset about things. Then mavirin like kapashov, like Akash Baruch Hu passes over all of his sins. So the chayr is to let things go and not to hold it in. Says the Gemara, the mefaisile umefayis. The shayla is like this: what happens if the guy apologizes? So if the guy apologizes, the mefaisile, he asks mechila. So navada, you're allowed to be mefayis, you're allowed to be mefuyis, and you can accept his mechila. But if he doesn't, then a Talmud Chacham should be neikim v'neiter v'libe, and let somebody else take the revenge for him and allow because of the Kavod HaTorah. Okay. Good. Geschmack. Here it brings down. All right. It's good. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read on the bottom here. It brings la halacha. The bottom right column. La halacha. B'davar shabim mammon asur l'nkei v'litter. So when it comes to mamnis, you can't bear a grudge. You can't with an amira. You can't take revenge. Baltzar b'aishis, someone embarrasses you, or you get pained. Mutter l'nkei v'litter. You're allowed to be neikim v'neiter. Ve'ein chiluk ben Talmud Chacham l'shay kol adam. He brings from the meiri, the yereim, the smag. That there's no difference between Talmud Chacham and anybody else. You're allowed to. The yesh kasu she'ein chiluk ben davar shebeman l'tzar gof. There's no difference between what kind of hurt you're feeling. Shebeshem aser. It's going to be aser to do both. That's the Chavetz Chaim's opinion. Uladaitai b'maskana sa Gemara. The Gemara's maskana is chayzeres b'me'achiluk ben tzared b'mam l'tzared b'gof. That's how he learns the Gemara. The Gemara changed when it asked the kasha of the tzar the gufa loy. The Gemara is blibing that it's taka aser. Okay. Ubeshas ma'isa, like we mentioned, there's no isur nekima v'netira. She'ev shel adam leis kevin shein la'ayuchen. There's no need to be a stone. Ushlei b'shas ma'isa safik dereis l'chumra ve'in linkan v'linter af al tzar ubiyish. The Chavetz Chaim holds that if it's not b'shas ma'isa, you should be machmir by a safik. Because it's Safik Deraisa who we pass like, and therefore you should not be Neikim V'neiter when it comes to Tsar Ubiyish. But a Talmud Chacham a Talmud Chacham, it sounds like once if a guy asks Mechila, he should accept the Mechila, but if he doesn't, he should be nekama until he asks Mechila.
Aren't you supposed to, if he asks you 3 times, aren't you supposed to?
No, you should always, if he asks Mechila, he should be Mechila right away.
Right.
If he doesn't ask Mechila, then he should be nekama. That means, believe I, you should, if someone else wants to take the nekama for you, you should let him do it. Gewaldig. Okay. Says the Gemara, if I had the stories, I would tell you all the stories of people that were Shemei Chapasan Ve'in Meshivin, and they give people brachas, and the brachas are Makoyim. It's like about the Madrega, if you're Ma'avir al Midaisav, Akash Brachas Ma'avir al Kol Ma'asav, al Kol Pashav, Gevaldik. Okay. Says the Gemara weiter. Back to the Trumas Hadesha. So we talked about a payis. And we said that remember how the payis worked? So the Kohanim would get set up in a circle, and the Mamuna would take off someone's hat. He'd say a number, and then he would count. Okay. So then we said you should stick out 1 or 2 fingers. Like, what's the deal with 1 or 2 fingers? So says Gemara, Maitzin achas oishtayim. Well, hashishtayim, I see. If you're allowed to take out 2, so then obviously you can put out 1 finger. Now, you're really only supposed to put out 1 finger. But a chayla, which means someone who is weak and he can't control his fingers, if he puts out 2, that's okay. That's okay. We said that you could only put out 1 finger. You should not put out 2. But that's by a healthy person. Even 2 he could put out if he can't hold his fingers in. By yechidin moitziin shtayim ve'ein moinin lehen. Who are these yechidin? Rashi says yechidin bechoilin. Talking about the choilin. She'ein yeshvin. People that are sitting by themselves. They're not with everybody else. They're laying on the side, or they're sitting by themselves. So then moitziin shtayim ve'ein moinin lehen. But we're not going to count ela achas. Even if they put out 2 fingers, only count them as 1 person. Ve'ein moinin loy ela achas.
Only counted as 1. So.
Why does it say that twice? I'm sorry, effectively, Gemara. Really, he only counts as 1? Vatanya, you only count him once. Vatanya, we learned in a brisa. Ein mitziin loy shlish. You don't stick out your shlish as your middle finger. That's the shlish. It's called the amma, because that's how they would measure an amma. The amma went from your elbow to the tip of your middle finger. So ein matzian shlish, lay shlish v'lay gadol, not your thumb. Because of the ramais, the tricksters, the cheaters. Okay, meaning because you're not supposed to put out 2 fingers. Vim haitzi shlish. If you did moinin lay, then we'll count it. We will go if you stick out your thumb. Ein moinin lay. V'lay oid el shaleika. If you do that, you get petch minavamuna, but pakia. We'll see what a pakia is momentarily. So the Gemara says, so here you see we count the shlish, we count the other finger, so it sounds like we count it as 2. The Gemara says, no, my main and lie, nam yachas. We count it as 1, meaning we count him. We don't throw him out of the circle. We'll still count him, but it doesn't get counted twice. Now, what is this pakia that the mamuna is hitting this guy who stuck out his thumb with? Because he's a ramai. Says the Gemara, my pakia, amarav marda. Thanks. My marda, amarav papa. That's a matrika detaye de pasik reshe. It's a ritzua. It's a strap that at the end it goes into. It's an Arab strap. Rashi says ritzua yishmaelim hasuya shoot lesusum. It's meant to whack it's a whip. It's meant to hit your horses. And the pasuk reshi, the end of it has it's like split at the end, so it actually it covers more ground.
When you're getting hit with
with
5 straps instead of 1.
Exactly. What's lashon of pekia? It's lashon of a split pisuk v'sdakim. Okay, so that's what you got smacked with if you were trying to be a ramai. Okay. Amar Abai, Meireish Havamina. Meireish Havamina. Haditnan ben Beivoy Memuna al Pakia. I used to think that when I learned this mission that said that Ben Bivoy was the Memuna on the Pekia, I thought that meant, Amina, I thought that the Pekia was Psilta, was on the wicks. Kedetnan, like we learned in a Mishnah, Mi Beloi Miknesei HaKehanim, from the worn out clothing of the Kehanim, Umimehemnein, and from their belts, Mehen Hayu Mafkiin, they would take out strings, Ubehen Hayu Madlikin, and they would make psilas out of it. That's what I thought when this Mishnah said that the Mamun of the Pekia, I thought that was someone who made psilas. Kiva the Shaman Allah the Tanya. But now that I heard this, so I understood that the Pekia is not talking about a wick. Amina, my Pekia, nagda. It's a whip. It's not a wick. It's a whip. Okay. Gewaltig. Maiso. There was a story. Yeah, two people running up, and they got towards the top, and what happened? He saw the other guy was going to win, and he pushed him off. That's what it sounded like in the Mishnah. So I mentioned another story, and it's right over here in this Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. The Rabbanan taught in a Brisa. Maisa b'shnei Kohanim. There was a story with two Kohanim. Shnei and Shavin, they were equal. V'ratzin of Eilen b'kevish, they were running up the ramp. Kodam echer mehen l'tech amas. One of them got within 4 amas of his friend. Natal sakin, he grabbed a knife, v'takalei beliba, and he stabbed him in the heart. Whoa. That's a crazy story. It gets worse. Amar Reb Tzadok Ulam. Reb Tzadok got up on the stairs of the Ulam. V'amar, he said, Achinu, Beis Yisrael, our brothers, the house of Israel, Shemu, listen up. The Torah says, Ki yimatzeh chalal ba'adama. The story of the Eglah Rufa, when you find a corpse on the ground, and your elders and the enemy are going to go out, and they're going to anua al mi that's the story of the Eglah Rufa. Anu ami lahavi Eglah Rufa ala ir olay azarais. Who should bring the Eglah Rufa here? Should Yerushalayim bring the Eglah Rufa, or should the Kohanim and the Azara bring the Eglah Rufa? Go, Kolam B'Vachi, everybody started crying. They heard that the Kohen was killed in the Azara. Ba'aviv Shal Tinak, the father of this Tinak. Interesting, they call him a Tinak, because a Tinak is usually a child. And here, this guy had to be at least 30 if he was doing the Avodah. Let's see if any comments on that in there?
No.
No, nothing here either. Okay. So, Bo Aviv Shel, I lost it. Okay, Matzo, and he found him, Kishum Afarfer. He was still moving around. And so it was on Hatzal to call. And Amar, he said, Harehu Kaparaschem, he should be your atonement. His death should be your atonement. V'adayin b'nim mefarfer, my son is still being mefarfer. V'lenit masakin, the knife hasn't yet become tamei. Quick, grab the knife out so it doesn't become tamei. V'la'amdacha shekasha aleim taharis keilim yaisim mishrichas damim. They reached a state where something becoming tamei was worse to them than the death of his own son. That's not a good thing. We have a puzzle like this. It says, "V'gam dam naki shofach Menashe harbe ma'oid." Menashe spilled a lot of blood at Asher miles Yerushalayim pel peh, and the Yerushalayim was filled from opening to opening. Yerushalayim was filled with blood. It means people lost. I guess I don't know if it was because of that or since then there was a loss of chashivas for human life. Wow. Okay. Now, for the Gemara, Hi Maisa Kadim. Which story actually happened first? Was it the pushing and breaking of the leg, or was it the murder? If it was the story of Shrichas Damim, well, let's just figure this out for a second. Again, the Shrichas Damim, the Mishnah doesn't say anything about making a payis. It was only after in our Mishnah, after the breaking of the pushing him off and breaking a leg, that the Chazal made a payis. So 1 second. If the shvichas dam was first, well, shvichas damim letiknu payis. If they didn't make a takana if they didn't institute the payis after that affair, anishber ragla takinu. So if we're breaking the guy's leg, you're going to make it. It doesn't make sense.
Which is what?
Ella, the nishber ragla kaddim. So it must be that because he broke his leg, the guy who broke his leg, that story came first. Well, then, if that happened first, and there was the takana already in place, so why are they running up the ramp? What's the story going on? Meaning of that, we know that they instituted the payis after the broken leg. But if that happened first, so then why were these guys running up the ramp in the first place? They should have been doing a payis. Must be the shvichas dam kaddim. It was that mice that happened first. The murder case happened first. So they originally thought, this was happenstance. This is not normal. But then they saw that, I think the way the Sasama said it was that, one was premeditated, not somewhat. I mean, he had a knife on him and he killed the guy. So that you don't have to be choshed that people are going to kill each other. That was a cry. The often is not going to happen. But once they saw that afilu mamila asili sakana, Sasama learns that in the case of running up, he didn't do it on purpose. It was more of an accident. So then takin rabban paisa, they saw that this absent is already a sakana. So therefore, they needed to institute a payis. Now, I just thought of this question: why is there no chiv to have a mica on the mizbeach? Meaning, if you have a roof or if you have a balcony, so you need to have a fence around it, right? So why wouldn't you need a fence in this area? I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, but says right there. The story said that Reb Tzadok stood on the stairs of the ulam. So the Gemara says, Anan Ami Lahavi Ali Ira Elazar. So, Frakta Gemara, Yerushalayim Bas Suya Egla Rufi. Is Yerushalayim a place that brings an Egla Rufa? V'atani, we have a brace that says, Asar Dvaram Nemru Yerushalayim. 10 things were said about Yerushalayim. V'zu Achas B'hem. And this is one of them. Eina Mivia Egla Rufa. Doesn't have to bring an Egla Rufa. And then a really a stronger kasha. V'oid Ulay Naida Mi Yikau. Egla Rufa is only brought if you don't know who killed the guy. We know who killed the guy. Ulay Naida Mi Yikau. It says you didn't know who killed him. We know who killed the person. Somewhere says, calm down. He was being, so to speak, dramatic, right? He was trying to get the people to know that we have to bring a terrible thing just happened. So he was comparing it to Egla Rufa in a more of a drush fashion, not in a halachic fashion. A wonderful evening.